There we go. So welcome everyone. We look forward to enjoying this workshop today with those that are in person and those that are watching this recording. We look forward to your feedback. For those of you that don't know me, I'm Leslie with the Community Foundation, Director of Programs here for our Center for Nonprofit Excellence. And we want to encourage you to visit our calendar for all of our upcoming events. Today is our workshop on marketing. We have with us today Jim Anderson with GoalBusters, who are doing the workshop. So I'm going to turn it over to Jim and go ahead and get started.
Okay. Well, let's see. Gee, I was hoping that there'd be really some awesome introduction for me, I guess I'll just do it myself. Hey, let's have some fun with this. Why don't I tell you three things? Two of them are lies. Okay. You decide, you guess what the thing is that's true. I was once bit twice by an anaconda in the same day. I once held Prince over my head. And I once survived a carjacking in Miami. Okay, which one of those are a lie?
The second one.
No, they're all true. I lead a really interesting life. Okay, I'm going to jump right in here, but let me at least give you the survived a carjacking is pretty straightforward. Tried to carjack me, I got away. Bit twice by an anaconda, also pretty straightforward. I was playing with ferrets and then I was holding an anaconda. I get at a pet store, I get bit, went and got a shot for tetanus, and I really wanted a picture with the snake, so I went back and it bit me again. And then Prince, I was in Toronto, and this was one of his pop-up concerts. Those that he used to do, they'd only be announced for a few days. And I ended up getting there early. I'm standing right up front. Halfway through the concert, he looks back over his shoulder to me and he nods to me. He looks back over at the other guy, does that a couple times. As soon as he knows that we're ready, he trust falls back and play as we're holding him over our head while he plays guitar. It was awesome. But hey, almost enough about me. So yes, I am Jim Anderson. I'm a partner in GoalBusters Consulting. We are a consulting firm that serves nonprofits exclusively. And we serve those nonprofits and non-governmental organizations around the world. And the founding partner is Alice Ferris. The firm is 20 years old and we are a team of 11. And we like to explain that you've heard that old adage, if you teach a man to fish, he'll eat for a lifetime. Well, we can teach our clients to fish, training, et cetera, in fundraising. We can show them where the fish are, planning and strategizing, or we can fish for them. There are a number of clients that we actually do outsource development and do the fundraising for them. But anyway, so that's a bit about GoalBusters. But you signed up to see some awesome stuff, tools that are going to make your life easier. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen here. I'll bounce around a couple of times to show you a few different things. My guess is that you can now see the cheap, fast, and good marketing tools. Is that correct? Thumbs up. There we go. All right. Well, let's take that full screen, make this a little bit more interesting to look at. Okay. So I do not want to turn that on. Is this full screen for you, or do you see the view with the small slides as well?
All we see is just the black background.
You just see the black background. Well, that's peculiar. Let me go back. You do not see the title slide any longer.
No, I'm not sure if anybody else is seeing the same thing.
Hang on, let me go do this again. That doesn't make a lot of sense to me, but we will just try it out again. Are you seeing it now?
I am not. Maybe can you try to move a slide? And okay, there, I see it now.
Okay, I see what I was doing. Yeah, I was moving, but I understand what the issue is. So that's what happens when you get a new version of PowerPoint. Okay, so you've heard that old saying, cheap, fast, and good. You can pick any two. Well, we're going to talk about how you can pick three. But generally what the problem is with that concept is that if you want something that is cheap and fast, it's usually not going to be the best quality. If you want something that's fast and good, it's going to be more expensive. And if you want something that's cheap but good, it'll probably take a long time. And if you want something that is all those things, oh, it's impossible. Well, we're going to show you where that old adage is wrong today, because I'm going to blast through a whole lot of tools. The presentation's being recorded, so take notes if you want to, but it probably isn't going to be necessary. You can just watch it again, like any of us ever do that. I intend to often. I never do. So what do we have for you that's free today? Free, that can help you with key elements of marketing. When you're speaking about tools that you're going to use, you need to understand what your goals are. We're going to show you how to accomplish those goals with tools that are free or cheap. Like almost every one of these services is going to offer you a free version. And if you want more bells and whistles, you pay a little bit more. If you want the full suite of tools, it might cost considerably more. But also we'll talk about prioritizing your time, because that is one thing nobody has enough of. So what is marketing? Marketing is supposed to accomplish a number of goals, and that is to build awareness, increase engagement, and trigger action. If I was in a large conference room doing this presentation, I would ask, what is marketing goals? What are you trying to do? And invariably, somebody will say, well, we need to get our name out there. So I usually go over to the door of the conference room, open it, and yell, Jim! How'd I do? I got my name out there. Did I accomplish anything? No, it's not just having your name out there. It is accomplishing something with your brand. So we'll first look at some tools here, and I'm going to go through a series of different things. The first tools are going to be in design. So Canva. Do either of you, or any of the three of you, oh, look, there's four. Do any of you use Canva at this point? Yep, thumbs up. Okay, I love it. I'm going to exit here so I can show you a different screen, and let you take a look at some of the designs that we've done with Canva. Let me see if I can now share that one. This ought to be it. Okay, do you now see a lot of thumbnails? There's a picture with a tree and all that. Okay, so I'm just going to show you a couple of these. Those of you that have used Canva before, you'll recognize some of these tools or techniques. What I really like about Canva is the fact that I can quickly put together a design that looks like a lot of work has went into it. And usually it doesn't take me more than about a half hour to do something like this. I'm actually the immediate past president of the Association of Fundraising Professionals Northern Arizona chapter, which serves all of Arizona north of Phoenix, which is about 2/3 of the state. In fact, our chapter area is the size of the state of Wisconsin. I'm immediate past president, but I'm also education chair this year. So I put on, when I put on presentations, I call my friends and say, hey, why don't you want to do something for free for me? Thank you. So Tom Ahern did one for us a month ago. We had Stephen Thomas Digital. And you can see that when you look through here, as I move it around, you can see all the different elements that are in here. So you accomplish different goals with these elements, often by duplicating the elements. So if I'm going to type somebody's name and I want the formatting to be the same or whatever, I'll type it once and I'll copy it in across the board for everybody. And occasionally that works out well. Sometimes you might have to make other minor modifications. We had the crew from Blue Canoe, another Canadian-based firm, although the other three members of the team, Leah is in Canada, the other three members of the team are in the States. And Josh Hirsch, exceptionally good with social media. In fact, he runs he runs the digital department for Susan B. Cohen National. So, 30,000 people that he's dealing with. This is the free version. In fact, I actually went and created Tom's slide over in the paid versions because our firm has a paid version, $99 a year or something like that. The two things that you can't do in the free version are you can't create transparencies and you can't remove your backgrounds. So, so it might be worth it to you if you are going to need to do things a little bit more detail, and it has filters and things like that. It might be worth it to you to go ahead and invest in those if that is something that you need. But I love it. It's fast, it's free, and as I had showed you a minute ago, you can do all kinds of designs. I do ads for magazines, Instagram posts, Facebook profiles. I create calendars in this thing. The calendars are just it's an exceptional way to put something like this together on your own. One of our clients is a public radio station, so we are always trying to come up with an interesting thing to do for a calendar. This year it is has been the Pets of Public Radio, in which we introduce you to the pets of a public radio supporter or partner of ours, and we let the pet tell you the story of what it's like to live with a public radio person. So, yep, that was a lot of fun to work with. But I'm going to go ahead and shut down out of Canva to minimize my options here. And the next thing that I'm going to talk to you about is 99 designs. And as opposed to just going back over to the presentation right now, since I've got a couple of things to show you, I think I'm just going to hang out here and share the screen again. So 99 designs, have any of you used 99 designs? Okay, so this is an example of what $300 will get you on 99 designs. Okay, so what it is it's a crowdsourced design platform in which it's really cool. You go in and you explain what you want. You might upload a logo, maybe or highlight the colors that you're interested in seeing. But what I really like about it that makes it so easy for the designers to know what you want is there are a series of sliders. So you can say, do I want something more modern or more nostalgic? Do I want something more masculine or more feminine? Things like that. So you can give them a real sense as to what you're looking for. This design and the process, if you have ever designed or had a logo designed or had graphic work done by a professional designer, how long does it normally take you? Days? No. Weeks? At least. Months? Probably takes months to get to something like this. But because it's crowdsourced, you got people from all over the world that are competing. I think this one had 15 or different designers that participated in the initial competition. And then and you give it a deadline, and as soon as the initial designs are in, you go in and you pick 2 or 3 that you like, your finalists. And you talk to each of the finalists via text, via email. You talk to each of them and you tell them what you like, what you would like to see differently. And then they give you submissions again. You pick one that you're going to go with. The only person that gets paid is the one that you select. And then you work with the designer to get all of the different versions of the logos that you want here. So you can see that we've got square. And if you do design logos, keep in mind formats that you're going to work with, because the aspect ratio of the logo will determine how much real estate you get if you sponsor something or if you're put on somebody's website. You might sometimes look at a sponsorship page or a website or something with a bunch of sponsors or logos listed on it. And it's like, well, why is that one so tiny and the others are so big? It's because they had a screwed up aspect ratio for that application, which means they did not get the same value that they would have had they had a variety of versions of their logo. So I always like to have square logos, both with mark only, just the logo that I can pop in certain places. And in this case, they've got the title, but they also have a slogan. This Way Out is the International LGBTQIA+ international news magazine. They've been around since the 70s, and we've been doing some work for them this past year. But they also have their slogan on some of them. Then you'll see you've got some that are mark left, etc. So real easy to go through this process. Once you pick it, you tell them what you're looking for. In this case, we wanted full color, and we wanted black on white, white on black, and various versions of them with just mark and title and with their slogan. So that's a quick look at what you can do with 99 designs. Again, I think the base price is $299. Be aware that they will ask you to they will ask you to choose what it is that you want them to design, because they'll design anything you can imagine. And they'll often try to get you to buy a brand packet. And so the brand packet is going to be things like, well, I'm going to do a Facebook a cover photo for you. I'm going to do an Instagram cover for you. I'm going to do a Twitter cover, all those type of things. It is not worth the $300 or $400 extra that they are going to want from you to do that when you can do it yourself in Canva. You just take the logo over and you do it yourself. Okay, let's see. Next up on our list of hits, we are going to we're going to talk about Haiku deck. That's going to be easiest for me to pull up here. I did not have that one preloaded, so give me just a moment to find Alice's. See if I can find that quickly. Yeah, here's Alice. Opening it up. Let me get over here and share that screen with you. Okay, do you see me and Alice hanging off the edge of a building? Is that a yes? I think that's a yes. Okay, so actually that shot is at the CN Tower in Toronto. It's really kind of cool. You know, people when they'll see me do photos like this, and well, this one in particular, they're like, "Weren't you scared?" It's like, why would I be scared? This is little more than a human dog run. They put a leash on you. You're tied off to these beams around here. If you ran as hard as you could and jumped off of the edge of the platform, the worst thing that's going to happen is you're going to swing back in and bang your shins. That's it. You know, you can't get hurt in these things. Anyway, so Haiku deck, one of the cool things about Haiku is that it allows you to make highly graphic, very simple presentations very quickly. So think of it like PowerPoint without all of the animation and things like that. You will see in a lot of the best presentations that you enjoy, they don't have a lot of text in them. Okay, what it is it's an image with a concept. So you want to give them an image that is supportive of whatever the concept is that you're trying to get across, or the question you're trying to ask, and tell a story that's going to be emotive. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about that in just a moment when I get to Prezi. Tell a story that's emotive with your images. So when you look at these and you think about the nature of presentations, what do these images imply to you? And again, I'm going to get out of Haiku. Actually, I think I can stay here and jump right over to Prezi. I think this will work. So do you see Prezi now with a lot of colorful, I see you nodding. Excellent. All right. So what I love about Prezi, so while Haiku deck is very simple, single page, single picture, generally single picture, only a few lines of text. What I love about Prezi is that Prezi lets me think creatively, and I don't have to think in a linear path as much. It is essentially a floating or flying whiteboard. So if you imagine a Prezi presentation, when you look at a Prezi presentation, you are looking at one element within a broad presentation. So I'm going to zoom in on this. And what you see here, these photos, I'm a 360-degree photographer. I shoot with a Ricoh Theta. I specifically use the Z1 these days. It's two 180-degree fisheye lenses that automatically stitch itself together, and it takes the photo in an instant, as fast as a normal camera shutter would fly. So I show you this for two reasons. If you are working in design, you want to have the most interesting photos that are either capturing an emotion that is conveying something to someone, clearly conveying an idea, but the more interesting you can make it, the better. Everything except the woman with the light up hula hoop, every other one of these is actually a 360 photo that I have manipulated. Just real quickly, top left, that is Old Town San Juan, the street, one of the streets in Old Town San Juan. The next one are elephants that in a nature preserve in Chiang Mai, Thailand, that we got to take a walk with. I was really bummed when I first found out we couldn't ride the elephants, but then when they told us the story about what those racks do to the elephants' backs and how stressed out they are and their shoulders are broken and things like that. It's like, I don't want to ride an elephant anymore. I'm just going to walk along with it and feed it bananas. The next one is a working sawmill in the Netherlands, in Lansdashan, I think is how you pronounce it. Next that's Key West, sunset celebration in Key West in the top right. Middle left, that is a place called Horseshoe Bend up at the border of Arizona and Utah near Lake Powell. The wooden slippers, also Lansdashan, in the clog shop. The woman with the hula hoop was actually at an event called Palooza. The next one is Dam Square, the Ferris wheel, etc. That's Dam Square in Amsterdam. Lower left, those are the lady boys of the Calypso Cabaret in Bangkok, Thailand. And finally, lower right, that is the last thing a lobster sees when Alice Ferris is choosing dinner. Okay. So anyway, so that's a quick look at these images. But what you can do when you're working with Prezi is fly into them. Okay, so you can fly into them and navigate through them. So in this Prezi, one of the reasons that I talk about why it's so important for you to use interesting images that grabs people's attention is the fact that people make snap decisions. Some people see the kitty in the costume, they think that's the cutest thing they've ever seen. Me, it's like too saccharine for me, move on. So people are making snap decisions. In fact, this slide had to be updated recently because you've heard this, because there's there's an insurance company that talks about this these days, about the attention span being shorter than a goldfish's. But what they don't tell you is that survey has been being done. That study has been being done for decades. 20 years ago, the human attention span was about 12 seconds. Right around the time that we got social media, 10 years ago, 13 years, depends upon when you adopted, the attention span was about 10 seconds. And since the advent of social media, the attention span has dropped from that 10 every couple of years by another second. So we're down to 7 seconds now. I'm always really curious. How do you know what an attention span is with a goldfish? Do you just you hold the little flake there for them and it's like, look what I got, look what I got. And when they lose interest and turn away, you know that you've lost them. Is that how you measure it? I don't know. Anyway, so that's Malcolm Gladwell. There's, if you want to go see this presentation, just Google GoalBusters Prezis. This one, as you saw, it's for the gram, but it'll teach you a lot about making snap decisions. And I talked to you about using emotive photos. So I'm going to tell you just a real quick little story here. And I want you to think about your reaction to the photos. What do you think? What do you feel? So if we're talking about people making snap decisions, what would you do in this situation? Because, you know, once I was in New Orleans, but I wasn't at Jackson Square. And it wasn't daytime. It was night, and it was raining, and it wasn't Bourbon Street. I was walking down a street in New Orleans, very much like this one, and it was raining. And as I turn a corner, I see a woman standing in a doorway a few doors away from me, a few buildings away from me. And another couple walks in front of her, and she's got something in her hand, and she's gesturing with her hand out towards this couple repeatedly. And it's like, what the heck is going on up there? But I'm a curious guy, so I walk up, and then she starts to do the same gesture with me. And she's a small woman, short, very thin, soaking wet, and looked really ragged. Looked as though this was quite a few years ago, so it was probably not opioids that she was on. It was probably meth, but she looked really rough. And she's got this ball of cloth, an orange ball of cloth in her hand. And she's saying, "T-shirt for $1, T-shirt for $1." And I said, "You're selling that T-shirt for $1?" And she responded, "Yeah, my boyfriend was on work release today and he's told me not to come home if I don't come home with some money. Sell this shirt, I hate it. So I bought the t-shirt. I gave her $5, not $1. And I thought about her. I thought about what it's like to live with the guy that comes home wearing that shirt. And I wonder if she ever got away. I hope she do. She did. I'd like to think she did, but I don't know that for sure. So when I share that story with you, those images were very emotive, from the bright celebration of Jackson Square to the revelry and raucousness of Bourbon Street, to the moodiness of a night in the rain, to images of an inmate, and an indication of a relationship that this woman has that is selling that t-shirt. So you went through probably a little bit of an emotional roller coaster there, if you were really absorbing those images. And so when you're working with your designs, with your marketing, ask yourself what story you're trying to tell, because not every one of them is going to be an uplifting, wonderful story. Sometimes you need to tell the darker sides of your stories because people will react to that. In fact, Tony Robbins, the motivational speaker, argues that people only take action for 2 reasons: to gain pleasure or avoid pain. And he shares a comment from a Greek philosopher that most people will take action to avoid pain before they will take action to gain pleasure. In fact, the Greek philosopher's line was something like, the human existence is the constant pursuit of eternal avoidance of pain. But that's the content and the goals of what your marketing and your design might be. Prezi, that tool, allowed me to do something more than a simple design between a simple fade between images or flying in of text. Some people say that, watching a Prezi presentation, they get car sick. That only happens if it's designed poorly. If it's not designed poorly, it's a natural, logical flow that you will take them through. But you use disruptive change to make a transition that will capture their attention. And yeah, you do want to rock people every once in a while. So with that, I'm going to jump back over to the actual presentation and we'll continue on. But does anybody have any questions about design or this first section that I've shared? Okay, I'm not seeing any. So let's go ahead and look at distribution for a moment. So here we go. You should see the toolbox again. Okay, I'm going to take that as a yes. So distribution. So how are you going to get your marketing messages out there? We're a big fan of Buffer. What's cool about Buffer is it is a scheduling system that will allow you to link and schedule posts for a variety of different platforms. And the cool thing about this is, you think about how often should I be posting on Facebook? How often should I be posting on Twitter? If you use LinkedIn, how often? Well, just a quick rule of thumb for, social media. In reality, it's not so much social media as they are social networks, but we'll just use the common terminology of social media. What is it that you're trying to accomplish, and how is that similar to traditional media? Well, if you think about Facebook, Facebook is very much like television. Okay, Facebook, you have your favorite channels, you have your favorite personalities, channels being pages or businesses or nonprofits, your favorite personalities, maybe they are celebrities, maybe they are your family or friends, because we all got our brand these days. But generally, you think about it as television, and it is, if you've got the content, you could post 4 times a day, 7 times a day on Facebook, and it's not going to get old for people because of Facebook's algorithm. They're not going to see everything. Even if they follow you, if you post multiple posts, they don't appear as high in people's feeds. For most nonprofit organizations, I generally recommend no less than once a week 1 to 4 times a week, probably. And I tend to avoid posting on Mondays and Fridays because Monday, everybody's got a lot of other stuff they gotta be doing. Granted, they will all just check out their Facebook feeds all the time anyway. Facebook has the highest percentage of addicts of any of the social networks. If you are a Facebook user, 97% of those folks check Facebook every day. But I still don't want to be lost in as much clutter. So I'll generally post Saturday, Sundays when I know people got downtime. They're sitting around the house with somebody that, they've talked to all they want to that day, and they're on social media now. But if I want to get to people when they're at work potentially or during the work week, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday are strong days to do it. And if I want to post 4 times a week or whatever that number might be, man, that's hard for me to set aside the time each day that I want to do a post and actually do this work. So that's why Buffer helps out a lot. You go in, you create all the posts that you want, set them up in Buffer, and they'll post when you're ready for it. Now, Facebook will allow you scheduling options as well, so you could do it there. Nothing wrong with that. So if you're not using Buffer, use Facebook for that. But I like Buffer because of the ability to post to these other networks. So I mentioned Facebook was like television. Then what do you think radio is like? Twitter, okay? Twitter and Instagram are basically radio, all right? They are temporal. You don't usually go in and search around unless you got a favorite hashtag that you click on or a list that you've created or something, but you don't normally go in and look around. You don't go back and look at your best friend's last 40 tweets. You don't do that. You go in, you listen for a little while, you check out a few photos on Instagram or check out a few tweets, you scroll around, maybe bounce around a little bit, but you're in, you're out, and usually it's in a very short amount of time. Granted, there are heavy users of Twitter who spend a lot more time with it, but the majority of Twitter users don't use it like that. They use it like they use radio. So what about LinkedIn? Back to Twitter for posting. Yeah, you can post 10 times a day on Twitter. It's not going to hurt you. You post as frequently as you want. And one of the other things is because people don't see all of your posts on Twitter or Instagram, specifically with Twitter, it's okay to be redundant. If you're doing some type of an event and you're trying to get people's attention, you might want to post a similar post multiple times. Change the words a little bit. Use the same link you want to drive people to, donation page or an event page or whatever it might be. But it's okay to be redundant there. So over to LinkedIn. If Twitter is radio and Instagram is radio and Facebook is television, guess what? LinkedIn is the Sunday newspaper, except it arrives on Monday or Tuesday. Okay? Because LinkedIn has the lowest amount of social addicts that are using the platform. It is the only platform to have a majority desktop use, and it is also the only platform that is used more heavily at work than it is in personal time. And finally, the highest days of usage are Monday and Tuesday, because people using LinkedIn for social reasons, they're using it really for business and they're pretending it's social. And so they go in and they see what's going on at the beginning of the week, Monday, Tuesday, and they're doing it at work on their desktop. So if you're going to post on LinkedIn, post something on Saturday or Sunday and let it hang for a few days. If the most people are going to be there Monday or Tuesday, leave the post up because it'll take them a while to see it. Okay, so essentially Buffer, love it. Schedule everything out, schedule it for all the platforms. Don't forget what you have scheduled, because what if you have something scheduled and then some tragedy happens, some national tragedy, or I don't know, a shooting or some other act of violence or something horrible happens in the world, and you've got some cute, chipper puppy or kitten in a rabbit suit that you have scheduled to go out that day. You probably want to go suspend your posts for at least the immediate time around whatever that national event is. So there's something to keep in mind that when you schedule, don't forget what you got out there, because you can come across really tone deaf and insensitive if you don't monitor for that. Okay, MailChimp. MailChimp there are many different email platforms. I kind of like MailChimp because the cheap version or the free version is not bad. I think we end up generally paying $100 or something a year, whatever the lowest rate is, to get a little bit more functionality and get analytics. And when I say we, I mean for the AFP Northern Arizona chapter. And we use MailChimp for that distribution. It's cool. You can do, links and inserts and photos and video and all that kind of stuff, and make it look well designed, and monitor your subscribes, your unsubscribes, your click-through rates, everything. Analytics we'll talk about in more detail in the remainder of the session. But that's one of the things that make all these tools so valuable, is the availability of those analytics, so you really understand how somebody is engaging in your content. Weebly, website design for, again, it's another one of those $99. I think we pay $99 a year for the Weebly hosting platform. We pay another $10 for each of the domain names that we've got registered. We've created websites for many different clients, and it's an easy platform to work with. But Weebly, Wix, WordPress to a lesser degree, all of these are essentially Word documents. If you can edit a Word document, you can probably edit a web page. It's pretty straightforward and simple. And Weebly is excellent because it's real intuitive. It has icons and things like that, so you can drag things in and design. If you want to take a look at a website that was used designing it, you can check out ours, GoalBusters.net. I manage that website for the most part. There's a couple of other team members that occasionally do some stuff, but you can see what's possible there. Okay, issue. Issue is something worth showing you live. So I'm going to stop this share and I'm going to jump over to issue. Make sure I've still got this up. And will give me just a moment. I see I bailed out of that before I showed you issue. Here we go. What I love about Issue is that it is a digital publishing platform. This is one I've never used the paid version. I haven't had a need for it. Generally, what I'm doing with it is I'm creating a document that I want to make it easy for somebody to find at any time, and I don't have to email the same thing to 100 different people. I have the link. I can send them over to the page. I can send it out to a distribution list, but you can post just about anything. We were fortunate to be invited to present for 30 Polish fundraisers in Warsaw, Poland. And, they sent us a lovely Christmas card, and I just thought it was sweet, so I posted it. But you can use it for a lot of other things too. We were managing the radio station. We were managing the KGHR Navajo Public Radio Station for the past 10 years. And during COVID, we did things like post the brochure from the Navajo Nation about the COVID conditions and what was expected and things like that. You can do much larger things as well. Let's see, where's a good example of one of these? How about a program for one of these conferences? So in Arizona, we have 3 chapters of the Association of Fundraising Professionals. We rotate the Arizona State Conference every year. So one year Phoenix hosts it, one year Tucson hosts it, and one year Northern Arizona hosts it. So I always post the conference program there. So it allows me to quickly and easily take the entire PDF document and load it. And what you'll notice is when I flip from page to page, notice there's a little blue that pops up. Let's see, is there one over here? Yeah, see how the little blue pops up there? Well, what that is it's giving you an opportunity to click on a link and be navigated. So you can embed links to these things, and I can then take you to the Hopi Foundation site, stuff like that. But anyway, I love it. I love the platform. It has, they've changed its embedding on Facebook a little bit. It's got a watermark or a branding mark or something, but you can still embed this just about any place. People click it and it becomes a full screen view that they can page through just as though they were holding a document. So it's pretty cool. We use that one a lot for a lot of different clients, and something that you could easily put to work for yourself. So back over to the presentation. And here we go. So then you've got all of your sharing platforms, Dropbox, Google Drive, Box, etc. So how do you share projects that you're working on with other team members for collaboration? You will find that just like online video meetings, people will get stuck in a habit and you will have a hard time getting them to change the platform they work on. So if you're going to be working with a variety of different people or organizations, you probably need to have all of these accounts but why do I need to have Drive when I love Dropbox? Because the organization that you're working with or the person you're working with understands Drive and will use it, and they won't use Dropbox. So you might want to make sure that you have that. There are obviously free versions, and there are tricks to getting more space in them. Just do a search for free space, and it'll give you the tools and tricks as to how you can get more free space if you need it. But if you have something that you have a high amount of content, you may need to pay for whatever the paid subscription is. One thing that I will touch on here, since this is everybody's using one of these, it seems these days, but one thing you may not have worked with yet, because GoalBusters, our firm, was a beta site for Dropbox. I don't know if this functionality is available to everyone yet, but Dropbox now has one of the most awesome video collaborating tools I've ever seen. So you're editing a video, you post it to Dropbox, you give everybody the link to that video that you want to have input, and everybody can come in, watch the video, and make comments in the video at points where they have an interest in making a change or have a suggestion or something for you. It is a highly powerful tool. In fact, we just used it for a client in Brooklyn. We just served Brooklyn Community Services. They are a 155-year-old community service organization from the cradle to the grave, so to speak, supporting people and causes in the Brooklyn area. And we helped them with their gala, and we did 2 videos for them. One was the opening video, and one was the COVID-19 video. So if you go check out their Instagram page, We Are BCS, WEARE BCS, check it out. You can see the video, the COVID action video that we did for this gala back last month. What was great about it is also one of the things that's kind of infuriating. And it is, you'll have people that'll go through, they'll make their changes, or they'll make their suggestions, and you've got multiple people that have suggestions, which means you've got different areas of interest, and sometimes there's conflicting opinions, but at least everybody gets to have their say. Then you revise the video, you upload it as a new version of the video, but it retains all of the old versions as well. So when we went through this process, we ended up with 3 versions of each of the videos. So the initial, here's our draft. Here's the first run with the edits that you wanted. Here's the final product. And so that way, when they did something like, now that I look at it, I guess the way you had it before was better than what I suggested. Can we go back to that? Well, you've still got the previous version, so it's easy for you to go do that. Odds are, but you've also kept it in whatever system you're editing in anyway. We do most of our work in Final Cut Pro, although our editor is about to go to work. He's currently working at the New York Conservancy for the Arts. He is starting a project with the, what is it? I'm going to forget. It's another New York theater organization down near Battery Park. And he's also going to work for MoMA. So he does a lot of work in Avid as well. MoMA, Museum of Modern Art. Okay, Slideshare. Slideshare is it's kind of like a very simple version of PowerPoint. Easy online presentations. It's kind of that sweet spot between PowerPoint and between Haiku deck. You want a little more going on with texts and animations and things, but you don't need to go fully to PowerPoint, or you don't want to pay for that suite. Slideshare is a tool that can help you. And in the final minutes here, we'll talk quickly about the tools for engagement. Facebook Live. We have done a lot of live events over the course of this pandemic. Lots of folks have. One thing that I can share is how much it has improved engagement for our chapter. We typically, when we put together, we are a tiny chapter. We have about 40 members, 44 members right now. I don't think we've ever broke 50. Kind of fluctuates because, you know, the world of fundraising, people are in and out of jobs every 18 months or so. But when we would put together an in-person presentation, we have to pick which city we're going to be in, because if you drove from one of our furthest distant member cities to the other furthest distant member city, it could take you 7 hours to drive. It's just an outrageously large area. So we'll have to pick where we're going to do a presentation. And if we've only got 40 members in total, that means we've only got 10 or 12 in each city that we're going to be in. So it is rare that we would have more than 10 or 12 people that would show up for a presentation. However, when we're doing Facebook Live, we have literally hundreds of people from around the world that join us live. And generally, the viewership triples within the next couple of days for people who catch up with it later. Case in point, the presentation I showed you that Tom and Hearn did. He held 200 active live viewers for the course of the entire presentation, and he broke 700 total views within a week. So Facebook Live can be really powerful, and it can give people an opportunity to participate and have education, much like you're enjoying now. Well, hopefully you're enjoying it, experiencing at least. And it gives people a chance to do it regardless of where they are in the world. Alice, that I've mentioned, my business partner, she and I are both on an international speaking circuit. She was one of the keynotes for the fundraising conference in Ireland this year, one in Switzerland. We've done Australia and Thailand and obviously the Netherlands. And a lot of that in the before times would be in person. But this year it was all done, and we got to have the experience of presenting in these wonderful cities without the burden of enjoying the people or food there and culture. No, I miss my travel. I totally miss it. Anyway, here we go. Facebook Live, Hootsuite. Hootsuite is about social listening. It's very important that you pay attention to what's being said about you, about your brand, about your organization. And Hootsuite's a great way for you to do that. You can create lists, hashtags that you can follow, et cetera. And that way you can know if people are talking about you, especially if it's something bad. Granted, you want to know when they're saying good things too. But the way that you get ahead of crisis situations, and if you go visit the GoalBusters Prezi channel, there's a presentation there on crisis communications in the 21st century. Basically, it's how do you survive troll attacks, that kind of thing. But Hootsuite allows you to keep a handle on this, and the only way that you get ahead of a crisis is or that you can head off a crisis is to get ahead of it. And you can learn more about the tactics to do that in that presentation. All kinds of filters and canned responses and things. These aren't specifically marketing, but they sure can save you a lot of time. If you are not filtering your email, if you use Gmail, other email systems allow you to do it as well, but you can filter email to be labeled in certain ways so that it's easy for you to find an entire thread for someone. You simply click on the label and you see everything that's been tagged like that. You can create canned responses. So if there's something that you have to send the same answer out on a regular basis, and we all seem to have those, it's like, oh, I got to tell this person this thing again. Where's that email? So I can copy and paste it. No, you don't have to do that. You can create a canned response so you can send that out to them, and it'll still look personalized. They won't know you've done that. Analytics, running out of time here. They're everywhere. They are super, super important, much like I mentioned they are in MailChimp. If you're not looking at your analytics and seeing where you're effective and where you get the most engagement, you are doing yourself and your organization a disservice. Go look at it. Go look at which posts are getting clicked on, which ones are getting shared, what's being retweeted, etc. And you can learn a tremendous amount with these analytics, which you can find on almost every digital platform. So how do you decide what's going to be good for you? ask yourself these questions. What is your marketing goal? Who are you going to be talking to? Does this tool or service serve those goals? How much am I going to pay for it? Is it worth it? And is this something that is easy to quickly use? Or do I need to go through some training videos or something so that I understand that tool better? So if you go through these questions, it'll make it a lot easier for you to decide where you should be investing your time and energy. So as you're thinking about prioritizing those decisions, as you ask those questions, is this going to effectively reach the audience? Will it reach enough people? Is it cost prohibitive or within our budget? And how much time does it take to put this tool to work? So with that, I'm going to go ahead and wrap up here just a couple of minutes early, allow time for questions if there are any. Otherwise, I give you a few minutes back to your day. So if